This is the Burundi to Gombe podcast.
My name is Leonidas Nzigiyimpa. I come from Burundi.
My name is Dr. Deusi Mjungu, and I'm working with the Jane Goodall Institute, Tanzania.
Welcome back. I am your host, Dr. Paul Harvey. Episode 5, A Conservation Corridor, Part 1. In this two-part episode, we head all the way to Africa and we hear from two incredibly passionate individuals who are working on the ground to make the Burundi to Gombe Wildlife Corridor happen. Leonidas in Burundi, Dr. Deus in Gombe, working together over nearly 200 kilometres to make a habitat corridor connecting wildlife and humans alike. It was March of 2024, and after a few failed attempts at trying to set up a time to speak with Leonidas, we had finally managed to find a time. Over video call, Leonidas crackled into view. I was amazed and somewhat shocked to hear that Leonidas was almost clueless about podcasts. So it was a great honour to be the first person to ever interview Leonidas for a podcast. This, the Burundi to Gombe podcast.
Thanks a lot for this initiative. I don't know if it's my first experience like that, but I don't know more about podcasts. I have heard this word many times through radio and television, but I don't know really what about.
Leonidas has an infectious laugh and an absolute zest for life. And as you can hear in his stories, a bountiful passion for the work he's doing to conserve the environment of Burundi and help chimpanzees.
I have worked in natural conservation, protected areas, fields for many years. I worked for the government as chief warden of different protected areas of Burundi, protected landscapes, natural reserves, but also national park.
Leonidas operates an organisation, Conservation Community of Change, or 3C. My first question, therefore, was why he founded the organisation and what led him to make a change to doing conservation work full-time rather than working for the government, as was his old role.
In 2019, I decided to leave the government and to create my own organization called Conservation Community of Change in order to continue to implement my vision, which consists to involve communities in nature conservation. But because this is my vision, I know that if we involve communities in nature conservation, in protection of biodiversity, we succeed. If not, we fail. It's the main reason. This is the main reason I decided to leave the government and to create my own organization and to continue also to collaborate with the national agency in charge of biodiversity in our country, in charge of protected areas.
In 2018, Leonidas was awarded the prestigious National Geographic Buffett Award for Leadership in Conservation.
In 2018, I won a wonderful award from National Geographic Society. The award is called a Buffett Award for Leadership in Nature Conservation in Africa. They have appreciated what I did to involve local communities, the indigenous people called Batwa in Burundi, in the conservation of the natural forest reserve of Burundi. But also in 2019, I won another prestigious award called the Wangari Maathai Forest Champion Award. And this award has been delivered by a big consortium of the big organizations in the world involved in protection of forests. It was in Brazil in 2019. And I can say that this international recognition gave me more, how can I say, more energy, more power to go ahead, to continue to work hand in hand with the local community to conserve biodiversity. We are in Burundi. We are a small country, high population.
Burundi is a country unknown to many people, and it's a very small country at that. Having never been there myself, I asked Leonidas to tell me more about Burundi, and particularly the natural environment. I wanted to better understand what it is that drives him to do his work.
Big pressure against biodiversity. Our forests, natural forests, are disappearing. We have many challenges, but as I like to say, I don't give up. There is possibility to save the situation, to save something, and this is, I can say, this is. I appreciate really to work in this kind of situation. Many challenges, but also solutions are possible. It's why I decided to continue to go ahead, to continue to work in that field.
Right there on the package, conservation, community or change. Leonidas' organization states very clearly what it is that they do and what its ambition is in Burundi. So what exactly does the organization do?
So our organization called Conservation Community of Change, we work in protected areas and around protected areas in close collaboration with the national agency in charge of protected areas called OBP, Office Burundais pour la protection de l'environnement. It's the national Burundian office in charge of protection of environment. We have close collaboration to save the situation, to save the last habitats of chimpanzees in our country, but also to improve the well-being of communities. Because if we deal with biodiversity and in parallel with communities, we succeed. If not, we fail. So we are working now to restore the connectivity of chimpanzees of Burundi and the chimpanzees of Gombe National Park in the southern part of Burundi. We are restoring the habitat through the demarcation of the habitat, through the reinforcement of the conservation, the protection, but also through restoration. Without forgetting communities. We can't forget community. We can't forget community. Once again, I repeat, we can't forget community. We need to compose with community.
Collaborating and working with local community is so central to Leonidas' work. And in fact, the same is true of the Jane Goodall Institutes across the world. As we have heard in this podcast series already, working with communities, developing relationships with communities, and striving to engage those local communities in all of the JGI activities. And not just in a transactional way, but in a way where everybody and everything benefits. I was really interested to hear, based on Leonidas' experience, how successful that has been, and to share some of the great outcomes from his engagement with communities over time.
I'm very proud to say this. Things are moving. Things are moving. But also, what Tracy is doing now through the support of our partners, main partner, the Jane Goodall Institute, different chapters, we have started to improve conditions of 5 chimpanzees living in captivity in the Musée Vivant of Bujumbura. What we do is to improve the habitats, to improve also the food, but also we are looking on how to build the capacities of the personnel, the staff of the Musée Vivant, to help them to improve the manner they are doing, they are working.
Throughout this series, we've heard about Musée Vivant, or the government-run zoo in Bujumbura in Burundi. As a wildlife safe haven, Musée Vivant is one of the critical pieces of the puzzle for the much broader Burundi to Gombe Wildlife Corridor project. Musée Vivant will function as not only a place to home, rehabilitate and save wildlife, but it will also function as a place for education, knowledge sharing, and inspiring the next generations to become people who are passionate about conserving the wild world around them. Given that there's a lot of work and energy going into turning Musée Vivant into a world-leading conservation space, taking it from, as Natasha Coots described, a very dilapidated and aging facility, what work is Leonidas doing at Musée Vivant to see it transition into a new, modern wildlife facility for animals of today and into the future?
We are now working on an action plan, a management plan of all the Musée Vivant, and to make the Musée Vivant a center of excellence in environment, in education environment. This is what we are doing now.
I asked Leonidas to help us better understand why Musée Vivant is so significant and why there is such a big focus on this zoo for wildlife conservation.
Musée Vivant, in Musée Vivant, we find different species of wild animals. We find chimpanzees, we find birds, we have reptiles, we have pythons, crocodiles. We have also one antelope and one leopard. The situation of these animals is worrying. The situation is worrying. The habitats are not adequate. Also the food is not enough, and also the staff is not well trained.
As our conversation drew to a close, I asked Leonidas to share the current challenges and also his vision and hope for the future of Musée Vivant.
We need to improve. Yes, we have started to improve the situation of the chimpanzees. Now chimpanzees have good habitats, and I'd like to say thank you to JGI Australia and the Sydney Zoo and other partners, Taronga Zoo and others. Because they have supported me to improve the habitats of chimpanzees, but also to improve the food of chimpanzees. We have a caregiver with big, huge experience, and every day he works in Musée Vivant to help to improve the situation of the chimpanzees. I can say that for chimpanzees, yes, we still have some gaps, some problems, because we have no specialized vets for these chimpanzees. This is a big gap. We have no enough equipment, but we have really improved the situation of chimpanzees. When you look at the chimpanzees of Musée Vivant, you find them that they have good health. It was not the case in 2020 before we start to work in Musée Vivant. It was not the chimpanzees were in bad conditions, bad habitats, and no enough food. The situation was worrying, very, very. But we have improved. But as these animals, the chimpanzees, they live with other animals in one center. It's very important to improve the situation of all the center. This is very important. And it's possible to make the Musée Vivant a window for all the country, to make the Musée Vivant a center where people, national or foreign people, can discover the situation of biodiversity of Burundi when they visit Musée Vivant. It's possible. It's why I have said that there is possibility. It's a center, a site with many opportunities. There is possibility to transform this center as a vitrine of the state of environment of Burundi. And we can, through Musée Vivant, start to teach to people why it's very, very important to protect biodiversity, to protect the chimpanzees and other species. This is very important.
Are you feeling inspired to take action after hearing about the challenges faced by chimps and their carers at Musée Vivant? Did you know that you can help? Find out how by visiting the Jane Goodall Institute in Australia's website, janegoodall.org.au. This podcast was produced by me, Dr. Paul Harvey. I want to extend a huge thanks to all of the guests and those people that have worked behind the scenes to make this podcast possible. Please share your feedback, questions or comments to paul@docpjharvey.com. You can find more of my work by visiting www.docpjharvey.com.